Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 3 College Basketball Power 40 rankings, where we're doing these every single Monday. So if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload, because not only do we have college basketball every Monday, we do college football top 25 rankings every Tuesday, NFL weekly picks every Wednesday, and then NBA content Thursday, as well as MLB content when that season is up and running. So if any of that interests you, make sure you go on there, subscribe. Love to have you around here because right now we're uploading 4 times a week, so this is the time to be on the channel. But with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So how we do this, we kind of just go ahead and look at all 40 teams starting from 40 all the way up to 1 and just recap their past week and just talk about how we're feeling about them. So looking at number 40, it's going to be LSU. I'm going to have them in the top 40, and I don't think anybody really expected this. This was a team that I wasn't very high in the preseason. I had them finishing pretty low in the SEC, but with their win over Kansas State, I think it's fair to put them in here as of right now. I mean, they pretty much handled them. I mean, there was never a question. Now, is this Kansas State being bad? Is this LSU being good? Maybe it's a little bit of both. I'll go ahead and put LSU here, though. Kansas State was a team that I had in here the past 2 weeks, so I think LSU is deserving of this spot. Number 39, it's going to be BYU, also not ranked. These are the two teams jumping into the rankings besides one more, but we'll get to them in a little. But BYU, still very high in KenPom. They're ranked 29th in KenPom. They're getting actually a lot of votes in the AP poll, and they're still undefeated, so I felt it's fair to put them in the top 40 at this point. Number 38, it's going to be Miami. They're another one of these ACC teams. Still undefeated. I've had Clemson, Pitt, Miami kind of in this little range pretty much all year. Now, obviously, Clemson lost, so they will not be in here. They fell out of the rankings. But when looking at Miami, they're pretty talented per usual, I think. Here, they haven't lost it, so I haven't had a reason to drop them out. Number 37, kind of same thing with Pitt. I've had them ranked in this little 36 to 40 range all year. They haven't lost, so I'll go ahead and keep them where they're at. Number 36, it's going to be UCLA moving up one spot. Now, obviously, when looking at UCLA, they lose to New Mexico, who isn't necessarily a bad team. I mean, New Mexico did fall out of the rankings because they lost to St. John's. But New Mexico still looks like a solid team, and UCLA is still ranked 23rd in KenPom, so I think it's fair to have them ranked at this point. We'll see how they continue to, move forward. Now moving on into number 35, it's going to be UCF. Now, a lot of people are going to argue UCF should be higher, and I could see it, but UCF is very low in KenPom as of right now. They're ranked 57th. I know they beat Texas A&M first game of the year. That is very impressive. I don't want to move them up, too high just yet. I mean, they did narrowly beat FAU and Purdue FW, so we will see. They do play Wisconsin later this week, which I think is a very interesting game. I'll definitely keep my eyes on that one because, we're going to talk about Wisconsin in a little, but they had a huge week. Number 34, though, it's going to be Oregon moving down to, not because they did anything wrong, just because teams behind them I felt deserved to move up. I mean, they did have an overtime game with Portland, which doesn't look great. Oregon plays Texas A&M next week, so that'll definitely be a game to watch. But as of right now, Oregon's still undefeated, so I don't see any need for them to drop out of the rankings. Number 33, I have Michigan State, and they did just lose, but I'm not going to drop them. They looked pretty good against Kansas. It was a close game. They only lost by 8. I think Michigan State is a pretty solid team, so I feel like keeping them where they're at is fair. I mean, it's the number one team. I wasn't expecting them to win, so the fact that they kept it as close as they did, because they were in it really the whole game. Kansas kind of pulled away late, but not really. I mean, I don't know. Kansas was pretty much leading the whole second half, but Michigan State was right there. I mean, they didn't go away. So I think Michigan State staying where they're at is is fine, even with them losing. Because, like I said, I mean, it's the number one team. I didn't expect them to go in there and win. Number 32, I have Michigan, kind of similar with Oregon. I'm not, saying they did anything wrong to be dropping down. Just kind of teams behind them have done a little bit more. So I feel as though they should be dropped down. I mean, they beat TCU, which was impressive, but they still do have that Wake Forest loss, which is holding them behind Wake Forest, who drops down 10 spots, one of the biggest fallers of the week. And this is because they went out and lost to Xavier and kind of got handled. I mean, it never was a question who was going to win this game. Xavier was up the entire time. Um, so when looking here, I mean, yes, Wake Forest beats Michigan. That's a pretty impressive win. So I have them still ahead of Michigan, but I mean, Xavier just handled them. I mean, there's not really any other way to put it. Um, I'm still excited about Wake Forest with Hunter Salas. See how the year transpires. But as of right now, I do have to drop him quite a bit. That wasn't a great look there against Xavier. Number 30 is the aforementioned Xavier, who, like I said, beat Wake Forest by 15 points. They looked like a really good team. Xavier was a team that I was kind of questionable on. I wasn't, quite all in like some other people were. But I'm kind of coming around to the idea. I mean, they're 4-0. They're moved up quite a bit in KenPom. I mean, they're still at 44, so a little bit lower than some of these teams. But I will say, I mean, the offense does look pretty solid. They're ranked top 30 in KenPom right now, and in at least offensively. So I think Xavier is definitely an interesting team, definitely deserving to move up a couple spots. Because Wake Forest, like, I mean, I had them ranked 21 last week, so I was pretty high on them. Moving on, though, to number 29, it's going to be Texas, staying put where they're at. I mean, no reason here to move them down, really. They took care of business. They still have that loss to Ohio State in the first game of the year, but since then, they've really been cruising, so I think Texas will be fine. I will say their freshman, Trey Johnson, has been very good for them, so that's definitely something they like to see. Moving on, though, to number 28, it's going to be Ohio State, and they are, unfortunately, because I am an Ohio State fan, I believe they are the biggest faller this week. So that definitely sucks for me, but they got um, really dominated by Texas A&M. They lose by 14 now. I will say Texas A&M was a team I had ranked in the top 25. It was a road game. Ohio State, I'm still pretty high on this year. I mean, I mean, I had them ranked 17. That was higher than the A people. The A people had them at 21. Now the A people drops them. They barely got any votes. I still have them at 28. I mean, I think that game's always going to be a tough game to win. I don't know. I like Ohio State here this year. I mean, later in the year they don't really play anyone for a while, but later in the year, I mean, they got Rutgers, Auburn, Kentucky here in December, so those are definitely all interesting games. Moving on though to number 27, it's going to be Ole Miss, moving up one spot. I'm still a little hesitant on Ole Miss. I'm not necessarily all in on them. I mean, they've had some close games against some iffy teams. Now I will say they did beat Colorado State by 15, who is a pretty solid Mountain West program, so that definitely made me feel a little bit better. So I move them up a spot for that. But they only play one game this week, but next week they play BYU, who is a team I now have ranked in the Power 40. So that'll definitely be an interesting one to watch. Number 26, I have Rutgers. I'm refraining on them a little bit as well. I mean, they're pretty low in KenPom. I mean, they've been ranked all 3 weeks in the AP poll. I don't really get it. I mean, they had a close game with St. Peter's. They only won by 10. They really haven't blown anyone out. I will say the offense looks solid for them, but I kind of want to wait to see with them because, I mean, they do play Alabama in about a week and a half, so that'll definitely give me a good test to see because they haven't played anyone at all. So I'll keep him here at 26. I feel like that's fair. I don't think Ace Bailey has played yet either, so that's definitely holding them back as well. And hey, they've been scoring very well without him, so that's definitely Okay, Ace Bailey has played one game. He's scored 17. But I do expect him to get better as the season goes on. And 17 is not necessarily. I mean, 17 is actually pretty good for if you're averaging 17, you're probably the best player on the team. That's just how it is in college. Um, Moving on though to the top 25, number 25, I'll go ahead and put Cincinnati up into the top 25. I mean, the AP poll has had them ranked here. I've been a little bit more hesitant, but I will give them some respect. I mean, at this point, it's kind of hard for me not to. They've been blowing out these teams. I know they haven't played anyone, and they really don't play anyone until mid-December. They got Villanova, who's looking like an absolute train wreck. Xavier, I guess, is their best. They play Dayton, they play Kansas State, so there is some teams, but no one, crazy good. Um, Moving on though to number 24, it's gonna be Texas Tech, and I'm gonna have them ranked here still. I mean, they're undefeated. They've been blowing everyone out, kind of similar with Cincinnati. They haven't played anyone yet. They do play St. Joseph's, who took down Villanova again, back-to-back years. So maybe that's an interesting game. I don't know. I feel like Texas Tech, though, should be in the top 25 here pretty comfortably. Number 23, I have Illinois just kind of staying put where they're at. They did have a struggle game here against Oakland. Yes, they won by 12, so I don't know if you can call that a struggle game. I will say with Illinois, they have a huge opportunity this week. They play Alabama on Wednesday, so that is going to be a very interesting game to look out for. We'll definitely see how, both those teams are really, what each of them are really capable of. I mean, um, we saw Alabama play a good team this week. We'll get to that in a little bit, but it'll definitely be good to see Illinois play a team of that caliber. Number 22, though, it's going to be Florida. Kind of the same boat with Illinois. I mean, they have won. They're undefeated, but they did have a little bit of a struggle, 13-point win over Florida State. And I don't want to. I mean, 13 isn't terrible. I mean, 13, 12. I mean, these aren't. I don't know. They're just. It wasn't a blowout. I mean, I don't want to. Hate on. I mean, both these teams are top 25 in KenPom as well. Florida's all the way up at 20, but I do have to keep them where they're at. I was kind of grouping them in with this next team, who is St. John's. I was kind of grouping these three teams together, but with this, St. John's did just go out and beat New Mexico, who I had ranked in the Power 40 last week, so I gave them a little bit of a boost ahead of both these teams. I jumped them over, but I will say they are still kind of in that same ballpark range. Number 20, it's going to be Arkansas, moving down a spot, and this is, again, they didn't really do nothing to make me feel this way. Just kind of, there was a team that I felt deserved to be ahead of them, so I'll go ahead and drop them one. But they're still doing their thing. They're 2-1. I mean, they lost to Baylor by 5, which take what you want from that. But Baylor is a very good team. Moving on though to 19, and this is kind of the first story. Arizona goes into Wisconsin to take them on, and they get 103 points dropped on them. They lose by 15. Did not expect this. I thought it would be a close game. I definitely did not expect Wisconsin to blow them out. I mean, Wisconsin was leading really this entire game. I mean, it was never a question, really. I mean, you could tell Wisconsin just came out. I mean, they could not miss. John Tanji, I believe is how you say. He dropped 41 points. I will say there was like 80 free throws I saw. That is just crazy. I don't know how that happens, but I mean that is ridiculous. It was 87, something like that. I mean that is crazy that you're shooting that many free throws in a college game. But I mean, really in any game, 87 free throws is absurd. But Arizona loses. Caleb White only dropped like 4, 6 points, I believe. That could be a little concerning. I mean, I don't know. It's still early in the season. You're playing a Power 5 road game. I think we'll see Arizona in a good game here this week. They got Duke coming to town. I believe it's an Arizona home game. Now, both those teams are coming off losses. We'll get to Duke soon. Um, but that is definitely a game, probably arguably the game of the week. There's some good games this week, though. But Arizona is going to have to drop a little bit. And that team that just beat them will jump all the way up into the power. I didn't have them ranked last week. They're all the way up to 18 at this point, and I feel like it's well deserved. I mean, they're undefeated. They have a team that I had ranked at 10 last week. The eight people had them ranked 9. They beat them handedly by 15. So that is definitely impressive. They're going to have a chance to boost the resume even more. They play UCF, like I already mentioned, this Friday, so we'll definitely get to see in that one who comes out on top there. That'll definitely be a game I'm keeping my eyes on because UCF is a team that a lot of people seem to be very high on. Number 17, it's going to be A&M, moving up 3 spots. They handle business against Ohio State, so I'll go ahead and bump them up a little bit. Ohio State is a team I'm pretty high on this year. Obviously, A&M lost to UCF, but then they go out and beat Ohio State by 14, who was a top 25 team, so I'll go ahead and give them some respect here, bumping them up 3. Number 16, I'm going to have Indiana not moving. They just, haven't played anyone really. I mean, they beat South Carolina, but I don't know how good South Carolina really is. They did handle them, though, so I'll keep them where they're at. They haven't really shown me anything here to drop them. Indiana has a very weak non-conference schedule, so there's a good chance they do enter Big Ten play undefeated. We'll see, though. I mean, you never know. I have Marquette, kind of same thing, just not moving. Cam Jones having a very good start to the season, averaging 24 points through 4 games. They go out into Maryland and beat them by 4. That was a trap game. I don't know if I want to call it a trap. I mean, kind of it was. I mean, they have Purdue tomorrow coming to town. That is a huge game to really put themselves on the map because I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about Marquette right now, and a lot of people are talking about Purdue. We'll get to why here very soon. But with Marquette, they go into Maryland and win, and that is, like I said, that is a very tough game. That is Power 5 team. Maryland's actually a pretty good team as well. They went in there and won. I mean, that's really all you can ask. I believe Maryland was favored, so great win there. But I didn't feel the need to move them up ahead of some of these teams. Number 14 is going to be Tennessee, staying where they're at. They're all the way up at 11 in the AP poll. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to see Tennessee play someone, and we really don't get that till December. So we're going to have to kind of wait and see with Tennessee because obviously they lost a whole lot from last year. But I do expect them to be a very good team. I have them ranked at 14 as of right now. Number 13, I have Creighton. A lot of these teams in this range just kind of stand put where they're at. Creighton continues to win in dominant fashion. Their next 3 games will be good to see. They play Nebraska, San Diego State, and Texas A&M. All those teams are solid teams. They also play Kansas to start out December. So Creighton's schedule is really going to start picking up here soon. That'll definitely be good to see because, I mean, Ryan Kalkbrenner has been amazing. They bring in Pop Isaacs. This is a pretty good team. So, I mean, Kalkbrenner's averaging 26 right now. Ridiculous stuff. Stephen Ashford's also doing pretty good, 16 points a game. Pop Isaacs is starting off a little bit slow, but I did kind of expect that with it being a new team. Moving on, though, to number 12, it's going to be Duke. They lose to Kentucky in the Champions Classic. A come-from-behind win from Kentucky. I didn't expect Kentucky. I thought it would be close, but I thought Duke would win. I thought they were by far the better team. And it looked like it. They were up 9 at halftime. And Duke was leading until about 4 minutes left in the second half. I mean, Kentucky just kind of stuck around, wouldn't go away, and they did end up on top. So good on Kentucky for getting this win. This is a huge win for Mark Pope. I mean, beating Duke, and just it was just his 3rd game with the team, and arguably their best player, Jackson Robinson, only had 1 point here. So I think Kentucky is actually a very intriguing team. And when looking at Duke, it is very early in the season. They are a very young team. Cooper Flagg did drop 26 in this game. Con Kneppel looks pretty good as well. Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster. This is still a team I believe in. Don't get me wrong. I'm not out on Duke. I mean, I still have them ranked 12. But they do have to move down a little bit. Number 11 is going to be Baylor, though, staying where they're at. I mean, they're 3-1. The difference with them is they have a win over Arkansas. Duke doesn't really have. I don't know. I mean, Baylor did get blown out by Gonzaga, but Gonzaga looks really good. Duke doesn't really have that big win. Now, their next two games are going to be a chance to prove. They go to Arizona, like I already mentioned, Friday night, and then they play Kansas next Tuesday. So Duke's going to have a very good opportunity. But when looking at Baylor, I think Baylor, as of right now, does deserve to be ahead. Moving on in, though, to the top 10, and starting off with number 10, it's going to be Kentucky, the aforementioned Kentucky, moving up 8 spots after they go into the Champions Classic and take down Duke. Very impressive win, and we really won't see Kentucky play anyone till December, so Kentucky should be pretty much a lock for the top 10 for the next 2-3 weeks. But they do have Clemson and Gonzaga to kick off their December schedule. They also play Ohio State, Louisville, so there's definitely some intriguing games here. But as of right now, Kentucky, I do believe, deserves to be inside the top 10 with a win over Duke, like in that fashion as well. Number 9, I have UNC just staying put where they're at. They play one game last week. They played American. They won by 50. Good on them, taking care of business. But they do have that loss to Kansas kind of keeping them down here. Number 8, I have Houston staying put. I mean, kind of same story. They take care of Louisiana. They win by they win by 46. Trying to do some quick math there. They win by 46 against Louisiana. Next week, they play Alabama, which is a huge game. But as of right now, with that loss to Auburn, I kind of same boat. I got to keep them where they're at number 8. Number 7, I have Iowa State. You could argue they should be higher. I could see it, but when looking at Iowa State, they haven't played anyone. Now, this Monday in the Maui, or sorry, not this Monday, but next Monday in the Maui Invitational, they play Auburn, so that is a great chance for them to put themselves comfortably in the top 5, because with a win there, it's going to be hard to say they're not, at bare minimum, the 4th best team. I mean, because Auburn would be moving down at that point, so Iowa State has a very good chance to skyrocket up these rankings, but, you know, as of right now, they've only played 2 games, so I kind of want a little bit of more of a sample size, and again, they haven't played anyone either. Number 6, I have Alabama moving down 3 spots, and they went into Mackey, played Purdue this week, and they got pretty much handled. I mean, like I said, Alabama, I mean, Mark Sears didn't really do much in this game. Now, I mean, he scored 15. He wasn't their leading scorer, but he was their second leading scorer. I don't know. It just felt like Alabama was a little off this game. Maybe it was the environment. I mean, it is very early in the year. I give them a little bit of a pass. Going into Mackey is never an easy thing to do. I mean, that is actually one of the hardest places to play. So, and it is early in the season. With Alabama, they're going to have a whole lot of chances to prove themselves because, like I said, Alabama probably has the toughest non-conference schedule. I mean, look at these next 5 games. They play Illinois, Houston, Rutgers, North Carolina, and Creighton. 5 games in a row. That is just a brutal schedule. I think Alabama, though, will be A-okay. It's very early in the season. I'm not too worried. I will say they have had close games with Arkansas State and McNeese, so maybe there's some concern. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, like I said, they play a lot of elite teams here. Number 5, though, I'm going to have Purdue moving up 7. They gotta be ahead of Bama at this point. I mean, they beat them pretty handily, too. There was never really a question that, I mean, Purdue was leading this entire game. Trey Coffin-Wren looks really good. Braden Smith as well. I mean, this team looks like a really good team once again. Purdue should be by far the Big Ten favorite as of right now, but obviously things are to change. We're only 2 weeks in. This is the start of the 3rd week. Number 4, though, I'm going to have Gonzaga moving up 1. I mean, they have that dominant win over Baylor. They have a good win over Arizona State. They're going to have a chance to pick up another win on the road against San Diego State, who is a very tough program, um, tonight. So we'll see what happens there. But as of right now, I think they're deserving of this spot. Auburn, kind of same boat. I mean, they're number one in KenPom right now. But as of right now, I'm going to keep the two teams I have ahead of them. But Auburn has that win over Houston. That is a huge win. And like I said, next week they play Iowa State. So if they go ahead and win that game, it's going to be hard to at least, to not put them at least at number 2. You could argue maybe even number 1. I mean, those are 2 top 10 wins. So that would be huge if Auburn were be able, is able to get that win. But obviously time will tell. We're not going to spend too much time on that. That is next week's game. Number 2, I'm going to have UConn staying put where they're at. They're just dominating these teams, and as they should. I mean, they're not playing anyone, and they don't play anyone till December when they play Baylor, Texas, and Gonzaga all in a row. So UConn is likely going to survive November without a loss, but I think that was probably expected with just how dominant this team seems to be every year now, led by Alex Caravan, who, let's check up on him real quick, averaging 18 points a game, leading the team as expected. He is a very good player. But number 1, it's going to be Kansas staying where they're at. I mean, they picked up another good win against Michigan State. They blew out Oakland. And next week they play Duke, so they're going to have another chance to get a huge win. Then so they beat UNC and Michigan State. I mean, those are 2 great wins. UNC I've ranked at 9, Michigan State I've inside the Power 40 as well. So Kansas, I think, as of right now, is deserving of number 1. I mean, just a loaded team. Zeke Mayo's playing great off the bench for them. AJ Storr as well. I mean, this is just a deep team. DeJuan Harris only averaging 7 points a game. I do expect that to go up, but he really hasn't had to do anything. And the fact that they've beaten 2 Power 40 teams already is without him really having to do much is just a testament to how good this team is. So I think Kansas is deserving of this number 1 spot until further notice. But that is going to do it for the Week 3 Power 40 College Basketball Rankings. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go down there, leave a like, subscribe if you are new. Because like I said, college basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA every Thursday. Comment down below what you agree, what you disagree. Love to talk down there. Make sure you check out our 2 most recent videos popping up right now. But that is going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys tomorrow with our college football top 25 rankings.